ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Wednesday, February 18th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I am your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. It is a Wednesday, so usually on Wednesdays, we get a chance to talk to someone different at Marshall University, and today we're going to be speaking with Jadan Hudson. He is the Director of Student Athlete Development at Marshall University. So we're going to find out more about him, what his job entails, and of course the programs that are in place for the Thundering Herd. But until then, we will get that text line open. And again, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. If you weren't with us yesterday, we had a chance to speak with Vice President and Director of Athletics, Gerald Harrison, and he had a lot of interesting things to say about yesterday's Board of Governors meeting. And if you missed that, I want to remind you, we do podcast the show. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So if you have a chance, go back, listen to that. I think it was very informative. I was explaining to a few people yesterday, there were some hard decisions made, and I think there was still a little misinformation out there after the fact. The pool is not being closed down. It's not necessarily a Marshall Athletics venue. Marshall Athletics uses it, but it's a Marshall University facility. And so the building is going to be maintained. It's just not going to be upgraded to Division I standards. And it's going to be available for the community. So I know that was a question a lot of people had yesterday. It's bad for the community. No, not in the sense you're thinking. For the community, for the high school programs that use it, it's still going to be available. So nothing's going to change there. The only outcome of yesterday is the fact that the swim and dive program is no longer going to be available at Marshall University. So yeah, that's one thing that is a hard, bitter pill to swallow. On the other hand, I've been trying to figure out what is stunt. And I found the video yesterday. I was actually researching it, and I want to thank Tyler Kennett over at HD Media because he sent me the video and said, this is sick. I think he used the right term because I watched that. It's like a 1-minute video. We posted it. It's up on my show Facebook page, also on my X account. Posted the video. What is stunt? And it's not where, okay, you go do a routine and then the other team does a routine. And it's the same routine at the same time. Both teams are side by side doing the routine. And there are 4 different routines. I think the final one is the put it all together. And you get a point. If you win the round, you get the point. It looked interesting. I think that that's going to be a big hit for Marshall University. I think more programs are going to pick that up. And again, the question is it a sport? It looks competitive. It's very high energy. That was one way to look at it. And so we're going to learn more about stunt. But I'm interested in this now as far as this looks like it's going to be competitive. There's going to be a lot of involvement. I know parents and family members, because it's an offshoot of cheerleading. It's not necessarily, cheerleading, but it's an offshoot. And it shares a lot of the same principles and some of the skill sets that are involved in one will carry over. And imagine, with all of the cheerleading programs that are across the tri-state that are very competitive, this is going to be an opportunity for them to go to Marshall, be on this team, get some financial aid as well, and compete where maybe you didn't have that opportunity before. So I'm curious to see how many people take to it right away and how many people just disregard it. And, of course, we'll get your thoughts. 304-396-TALK is the text line, 304-396-8255. That is our number to be a part of today's show. You know, we're going to be keeping an eye on a lot of things. Coming up tomorrow, we've got a busy day for the Thundering Herd. We're only going to have a half show tomorrow. We go on the air at 5:30 with our pregame because the Thundering Herd in action, taking on App State. That's a big one. Marshall is in a spot where it could possibly finish not only in the top 4, but maybe you could get a top 2 finish out of this possibly. There's still some numbers to crunch, but it's really tight in the standings right now. So tomorrow's a basketball day. We've got Marshall women's hoops as well. Thundering Herd's going to be at Georgia Southern tomorrow. That's going to be a 6 o'clock tip. And Marshall's 22-6. Coach Julie Folks has got this team really humming. 12-3 in the Sun Belt. This is the final road trip. And so Thundering Herd taking on Georgia Southern, which is 19-6, 12-2 in league play. This is big because Marshall could find itself on top of the Sun Belt if everything lines up. It also has to take on Georgia State, which is 9-17, 4-10 in Sun Belt play. I'm not saying that is an easy game. I'm not overlooking that one. But here's a scenario. Marshall, we look at the standings right now. You've got the Thundering Herd. You've got Troy. You've got Georgia Southern. You know, all these teams have 12 wins. We're getting close to the final couple weeks before the tournament begins. And so seeding very important. It's great to get that regular season championship. You want to put that on your trophy case, obviously. That will be displayed. But you want the tournament seeding because you've got a better shot at that overall championship, the tournament championship. That's the one that sends you to the NCAA tournament. So there's a lot happening going on. And, of course, I don't want to overlook you've got Marshall tennis as well, going to be closing out its homestand against WVU. Good to see the tennis program, according to A.D. Harrison yesterday. You're going to see a little bit more love, best way to describe it. Tennis team right now is 5-3, taking on West Virginia. We'll get your text in, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. On the other side of the break, we're going to hear from Jadan Hudson. He is the director, the Student Athlete Development Officer. He's the guy that handles a lot of things involving the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, the Buck Harless. You also have the career fairs. You have all kinds of things that impact student athletes on and off the field, and he's the director of all those endeavors. We'll talk to him when we continue, find out a little bit more about him, his position, and what he does at Marshall University in the programs that the Thundering Herd offer to students. All that's coming up. And your text, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Looking for midweek fun? Head to Frank's Place, where every night's a party. Wednesdays are full of brains and brews with trivia night. Grab your crew and show off what you know. Thursdays, crank it up with Singo Bingo. Music meets bingo for prizes and laughs. Then Fridays, we hand you the mic for karaoke night. Sing your heart out and start your weekend right. The fun never stops at Frank's Place. Great drinks, great friends, and good times. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Tax season just got a lot more exciting at Hometown Chevrolet, your tax refund headquarters. Right now at Hometown Chevrolet, your tax refund can put you behind the wheel of a reliable car, truck, or SUV that you'll love. And with the Hometown Advantage, you'll get free oil changes for life on qualified vehicles and a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on qualified pre-owned vehicles. That's confidence, that's value, and that's peace of mind. Drive home happy at Hometown Chevrolet, your tax refund headquarters. Hurry in today or shop online at yourhometowንchevy.com.
Metro Community Federal Credit Union now brings you all the tech that big banks have, but still has that personal touch of a member-owned community credit union. Apple Pay? Got it. Digital wallet? Yep. Message pay by text, online loan payments, even chatting with a real person, not a bot. Open accounts, sign documents, and manage your money all online. It's the big bank tech you need from the local community-minded credit union you trust. Metro Community FCU. Visit metrocommunityfcu.com today.
11-year-old Hazel lives in a place that's rich in many things, but not money. As a young child, her job is to play, grow, and learn. But for kids like her in the world's poorest places, poverty gets in the way. There was a time when Hazel had to trek more than 2 hours every day to collect water from a dirty river. Once, when she got a life-threatening infection and her mother had no money for a hospital, Hazel nearly died. But thanks to Child Fund supporters, Hazel and her community now have clean drinking water and access to healthcare. And Hazel has a better chance to fulfill her potential. Child Fund works in 24 countries to make sure children grow up healthy, educated, self-sufficient, and safe, wherever they were born. Why? Because Child Fund knows the promise inside every child is greater than the poverty around them. Learn more at childfund.org.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Follow at Paul Swann on X for Marshall sports updates and more.
We continue on with this Wednesday edition of Your Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Every Wednesday, we have an opportunity to speak with someone at Marshall University, talk about some of the programs that are happening around campus, or introduce ourselves to some new and interesting people. And Jadan Hudson joins us on the program now. He is the Director of Student Athlete Development. Jadan, welcome to the program. Good to talk to you. This is our first time, and I'm excited to get into all the things you do, because you were described, I'll just be honest with you, when you look at the guy that usually is on the show, Ryan Crisp, he's a pretty big deal. At least he's what he tells me. But he was giving you a lot of praise, so that is huge, to get a lot of praise from that guy.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this time. And yeah, Ryan Crisp, he's a great guy. He does a lot for me. I think I send him at least 2 emails a day asking for something or asking for some help. So he's a great person.
We kid because, well, that's kind of his DNA. He's someone that has a lot of job duties, but I'm looking at some of the stuff you do as well, and I think your plate just as full as his. But just to get started, what is the Director of Student Athlete Development? How would you describe your job to someone who has no idea what you do?
Yes, so it's pretty different at every university, but here at Marshall, it's still fairly new. It was run a little bit differently before I came here. By the way, little small step. I came here in August. I started in August, and kind of helping develop the new program of what we have here at Marshall. So here at Marshall, we kind of put it into 3 pillars. Student athlete development is, we have personal, professional, and community development. And that's kind of our system. That's our pillar. And that's what we do for our student athletes here. And to kind of make it a short, give a short description of it, it's everything. I do everything that's not related to their coaches. So they have their coaches, their competitions, their practices. I handle everything else outside of that. That's the personal development. Like we have the cooking classes we have coming up here soon. We then the professional development. We have our career fair, and we have the resume building and networking. And then we have the community development, which is getting outside in the community, helping out where it's needed. And then we track hours on getting our athletes 15 hours, requirement per athlete to kind of get into the community, kind of help. We ask a lot from the community. We also want to give back as well.
Why was the opportunity at Marshall University one that you wanted to take advantage of? What was it about Marshall that made you decide, hey, I want to come here and I want to work with these students?
Yeah, so my story, I'm originally from Pennsylvania, so I'm used to the snow and to the cold weather that recently just came here at Marshall. I spent some time at USF down in South Florida. I was the academic coordinator for football, one of the academic coordinators for football, and During that job, I also helped out in student athlete development there, and I wanted to go somewhere full time with student athlete development. I was an athlete myself, and I wanted to. I had a lot of help. My background was in sports management, and I knew academics wasn't it for me, and I wanted to help in a way that motivated student athletes more than just academics. And talking with they opened the position. I found out in around June, July that I was up for the position. I was excited. I took a tour here. I loved it. I loved the people. Marshall Huntington is way nicer than it is in South Florida, I can tell you. And just meeting everybody here, meeting compliance, meeting the academics, and they were giving me full control over how to develop it absolutely with the new AD, Jadan Hudson, being there and Nisha helping me as well. But they gave me full reign and control of what I wanted to, my vision on what student athlete development is, with a lot of help, of course.
Did you find that there was a good infrastructure in place, or is this a ground up, we're rebuilding it, we're not necessarily discarding anything, but we're going to start from ground up and we're going to make this thing really special?
So my predecessor, Jaylene, she had a great foundation here. So it wasn't like we had to start over everything. She had a lot of stuff documented. She had a lot of stuff in place already. I just took what we wanted to do, going forward with the new system, and I kind of used her foundation to already that was in place to kind of build it up. So it's starting over and adding the pillars, but she already had it just not structured or labeled. So it wasn't building it from ground up. We had a lot of things already in place, especially with the connections and the networking that helped really a lot.
So let's start with some of the programs that you oversee that maybe you've heard of, you don't know necessarily. I think the one thing that always comes up is the Buck Harless Center. Everyone knows about it, but do they really know about it? And there's been a lot of changes recently there that it seems like the students love so far.
Yes, so the Buck Harless Center, that's where my office is. That's where academics live, compliance now, and we have our Be Heard Counseling Center and sports nutrition all live up here, all under one roof. So where it's the one-stop shop for all the athletes. It's great. And we just did a small, small to us, but it's big to everybody, renovation here. We got some lovely couches. My office has changed to where it's bigger. So that student athletes can come in and talk to me as well and kind of, hang out. We want our athletes to be in our space. The one thing about having our athletes up here, talking with them is to build trust with them. And, we can talk to them till they're blue in the face. But if they don't trust us, they're not listening to us, is it really intentional? So we wanted to focus on that. That's why we got the sensory room in the back now with the massage chair and the lights in there. So if they wanted to go, if they don't have a place to go and sit and relax, that's a place back there now. We got rid of some of the computers so where they can hang out and do their work on the couches, kind of lounge around. Today is actually it's packed today. We got a full house. Everybody's hanging out on the couches. Everybody's doing homework. They're talking with the academic advisors. So it feels way more, fulfilling now with them all up here. I'm able to talk to and meet a lot of them that I haven't met, in the fall.
It was like a computer lab before. I mean, it was necessary, but it felt like a computer lab. And now just seeing what's happening over there, it feels like really a space because everybody's got a laptop, right? You don't necessarily need a row of computers to get everything done that you're trying to do. So this seems like it's a great repurposing, and you still have the workstations if needed.
Absolutely. Yeah, it looks great. I make sure I do my rounds every morning, just check in to see if everything's all together, if I got to clean anything up. But it looks amazing, especially with the new designs we have on the wall. We have the SAC, executive board pictures up on the wall so they know who they are if they need to go to them. So it looks amazing now.
Speaking of that, you got the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Now, this is important because this is representation for all the student athletes. Everybody feels like they have a voice, that they're invested in this. What does that mean to the students to be able to have more of an ownership, a larger voice in what happens at Marshall University? And in your experience, what's it like at Marshall compared to other places?
Oh, it's amazing. Just having them have a voice. So kind of to give a background of what SAC is. So before coming in here, SAC was run kind of like community building, community relations. So we wanted to kind of give them a voice, bring more administration in into SAC. So now SAC is run as if it's the voice for the student athletes. So if they have any concerns, they have any ideas, any feedback, we go strictly to SAC. We hold those about once or twice a month, and that's where students really come together. It's 2 to 5 student athletes per team come together, and we just kind of talk about anything, anything that's going on, any updates. They talk about what's going on in their areas. If they got a community service event, or if they're doing this, or it's just a big game, they want some people, their athletes, to come support. It's all about them for this meeting. So, and we wanted to make that an emphasis this upcoming, new what we're doing here now at Marshall. So that was a big thing for Gerald to bring in, and kind of for me to lead.
Is this also the place where if students have a problem, there's something that maybe they're not happy with, this is where it starts as far as bringing those to the table, things that really need addressed that's maybe not going the right way?
Yes. So how it was run at USF is kind of how I structured it to be run here. It's fully led by the student athletes, but I gave them a structure of like, hey, this is how it can be run. We can change it up later on, but like run it like this, and then what feels natural to you to kind of change it up as we go. How it was run at USF is we would go through, any sport updates, what's going on in their areas, and then how can we fix something? If we need to bring in Teddy from Big Green, if we need to bring in Mike Valentine from being a general manager or another administration to kind of see what's going on, this is who to talk to. We need to bring in Andrew Brown from facilities. This is that place. They may not know who these people are. I'm going to bring in, other people to kind of talk to you about it, so we can see who's available and see what's going on. It's been great. It's been going really, really great. And also I provide them with food, so it's definitely get them coming there, especially with free food. But it's great, and how it's run. It obviously took some trial and error because they weren't used to it. But now we're in the second semester that it's been run. It's a great turnout. We get about 50 to 60 student athletes. Some of them aren't, on, SAC reps for the team, and they come anyway. So it's a great turnout.
Anything that you can share that's come out of those meetings that was maybe a good idea, something that surprised you, or something that's going to have an impact that maybe is visible or maybe not visible?
Yeah, so this is the housing for what we get all of our events and feedback from. So these are the athletes we go to kind of, get that initial thought into what we were doing. So we held a spring welcome back, the Sunday before coming back to campus for our student athletes to come back. And we held a spring welcome back in the Cam Henderson Center. And it was just, we had a lot of events and a lot of food there. We had it was a welcome back for our student athletes to kind of meet each other, chemistry bond, and go over a few things. So that was initially brought up in the SAC meetings if they wanted to have it, and they agreed to have it, and we had it, and it turned out well. We got a post feedback on it. Some things we could have changed different. Some things went very well. So and that was one of them. And now in the SAC meetings in the fall, we brought up hosting a career fair and changing our award ceremony that we do at the end of the year. So all of those ideas, we go to the SAC first, we get their ideas, we kind of go over what needs to be done. This has to be done. Some things can get changed by administration, but the initial feedback comes from SAC. So all of the big decisions as far as events, especially on the student athlete development side, it's housed and it's initially brought up in SAC, because if they're not interested, if they don't want it, then we won't have it.
And that really plays into the student athlete experience. And I know from past experience and speaking with AD Harrison, the words come out of, hey, look, we're trying to, create, the best student experience possible. We're concerned about their wellness. And I know the student athlete, sometimes the student part maybe gets forgotten, and these young men and women are thought of just athletes, but it's your job to make sure that all the right things are getting hit on as well. You're sort of not only a facilitator, but you're probably an educator as well.
Absolutely. I spent a lot of time in school myself, so I have some experience with educating and just meeting the athletes where they are. Some of them they are all different. I know that they all have different personalities, different backgrounds. I know that I can't talk to one of them how I talk to all of them. So just doing that and understanding it and being intentional with what I do. I know that this is a pivotal point in their lives. So I want to help guide them. Some of them may never play a sport again after this point. So I hope to be a helping hand and a resource for them. And I tell them that every day. They get sick of me for how many messages and things I send to them. I just I see a resource, I see an opportunity, and I send it to them. Whether it's internship, it's a resource on campus, it's a person. I do it, and hopefully that one or that 20 or 100 of them, realize that what I'm doing and it changes their lives.
Our guest is Jadan Hudson. He is Director of Student Athlete Development at Marshall University. So there are a lot of programs going on. You mentioned, of course, the career fair. That's very important because sometimes this is the first time that these young men and women have an opportunity to even experience what that's about. I mean, where do you go to find out about how to give how to do an interview, or how to put yourself out there for jobs? All of that stuff is under your umbrella. And of course, you do some fun things as well. I got the note that cooking is a big thing. Do you find that cooking is something that's maybe it's probably undervalued, because how many of these student athletes, this is maybe their first time really experiencing life in the kitchen? What's your experience on that?
Yeah, when we put it out, they were scrambling to sign up for sure. It's so we had to make sure that we get more classes this semester. Thanks to Mara and her team for doing that. Yeah, cooking. This is the first time. We didn't have any of this at USF, but this is the first time being part of that, and thanks to Huntington Kitchen for having that set up and going through them for that. It's great. I'm going to be there for sure. If I'm not going to be at the first one, I'll definitely be at the other ones just to see how it's going on. May take a couple of samples myself, but I wish I had a cooking class when I was in college. I definitely needed it. A lot of things I've been, a lot of bowls of cereal and putting the things in the oven for me.
Do you find then that this depends on a person's background, that they need a little bit of your help, or they need a lot of your help as far as knowing what to do, where to go, what you need to get as far as ingredients at the grocery store? We're in that fast-paced world now where, okay, I'm going to order something, you hit the drive-through, I'm good for the night. No, this is a little bit different, and you're really concerned about their long-term success when their athletic career is over.
Absolutely. Being an athlete, you have to watch your diet. A lot of people, or some sports, they have to gain weight. Some of them, they have to lose weight. Some of them have to be, a lot more water in their system, or some of them even maybe they have food allergies. So just understanding that and knowing where to get it, whether that's, at Walmart, at Target, or any other store, or if they order it online, just knowing what to do, what to make that's healthy for them, or what to make that, can supplement or be an alternative for them, rather than going to a store and getting junk food, what other possibilities or what other things are there available. So this cooking class definitely touches on that. I won't be the one cooking for sure. I know I'll be the one facilitating, helping out, taking pictures. But it's going to be exciting.
Jadan Hudson's joining us, Director of Student Athlete Development at Marshall University. Okay, so you're a former athlete. What was your sport?
It was football.
So you can relate to the football guys, but how have you used that experience? Because football's the biggest sport. It's got the biggest number of per sport. Yeah, as a student athlete, there's a lot of personalities you have to navigate being a member of football team. And now how have you put that to use as far as navigating, because you mentioned not everybody's the same. So did you get that experience initially from being in a room with like 100 plus other personalities?
Yes. So I got it from playing football. I got it from I've been a part of a couple industries and a couple jobs before here that really opened my eyes. So when I graduated, I went right into finance and understanding the cold calling, the warm leads, the referrals, understanding people and personalities. That's where that came from. Football just really gave me the edge and passion for sports and just knowing the day to day and what goes into it. And then in the golf industry, knowing how to deal with a difficult client or to express in a way that may not be good news, but they have to hear it, and it's best that it comes from me and just helping, being a wingman for them. I know that it's their lives. I know my part. I know I'm a resource for them, and I know my way to appeal to them and to make whatever I have, my information to them, intentional. It's all good news. It's all good for them, and it's just the industries that I've been in. It really helped. It really gave me a foundation of helping different sports. When I was at USF, it was just strictly football when I had to report, but I talked with lacrosse. I talked with beach volleyball. I had a insight in day to day with baseball. So I wasn't like I was just strictly sticking to football. Football is what I know best. But people are people. I love talking to people. It's being in this position is a dream come true. I always seek out relationships. I always want to build better relationships, and I hope that they understand that. I know that everybody is different, and I know I have to make sure I talk with different sports and different athletes a certain way. I know that, and that comes with the job. It's a challenge that I accept. It's not like I shy away from it when I have to have a difficult conversation with an athlete. Maybe that their career is coming to an end and they want to figure out their next steps, but they don't know how. I've been in that. I've been in that position, so I'm comfortable with having that with them. They may not thought about certain situations, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge for sure.
Jadan Hudson, Director of Student Athlete Development at Marshall University. Jadan, first of many, I hope. We get you back on real soon, and looking forward to seeing more of the things that you've got in store for the student athletes in Marshall University.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you, Jadan. That's Jadan Hudson, again, Director, Student Athlete Development at Marshall University. We're going to get your text 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More coming up on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Mike Rowe here with another random fact. Those cracks on your walls aren't just cosmetic. They could mean your home is sinking. Whether it's drywall cracks, exterior cracks, or sticking doors or windows, do yourself a favor, call Groundworks. I spent some time working with these guys, and they're the real deal. Their people are trained and certified to stabilize your foundation. Baker's Waterproofing and Basement Authority of West Virginia are now Groundworks. Schedule a free inspection.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Metro Community Federal Credit Union now brings you all the tech that big banks have, but still has that personal touch of a member-owned community credit union. Apple Pay? Got it. Digital wallet? Yep. Message pay by text, online loan payments, even chatting with a real person, not a bot. Open accounts, sign documents, and manage your money all online. It's the big bank tech you need from the local community-minded credit union you trust. Metro Community FCU. Visit MetroCommunityFCU.com today.
You've cut back on everything and you're still coming up short at the end of the month. Give your local State Farm agent a call for a free discount double check. They'll show you how something as simple as combining car and home policies can save you hundreds of dollars a year. Being there to help keep more of your money is why your local State Farm agent is here. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
In Huntington, John Garden, 304-525-1116. And in Barbersville, Marcia Slater, 304-736-6100.
Kindred Communications is proud to welcome WSAZ to our family of stations. When you listen to your favorite Kindred station, you'll hear the trusted voices from WSAZ you know, with the WSAZ First Alert, forecast, and the latest news. WSAZ and Kindred Communications, working together for the Tri-State.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of your religion, or your race, or because you have children, or a disability.
It's so wrong. Yes, but who has the power to stop this?
You do. Each of us has the power. The law is on your side. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate it. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit hud.gov/fairhousing. That's hud.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Miss an episode? Catch it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We continue on with today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Let's get you caught up on the text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter wants to know, Paul, when your associate, referring to Tyler Kennett over at HD Media, when your associate referred to the stunt video as sick, what was his meaning? Modern lingo often means something different than what I envision. I'll make it real simple. It was cool. Sick is cool. It's impressive. It's awesome. It was cool. That's what the kids are saying anyway. And, of course, by us using sick, we're probably going to speed its demise up a little bit. No, sick is something cool, something excellent, something impressive. So that's what sick means. It was pretty cool. If you look at the video, I think it'll be a hit at Marshall University. And, of course, it doesn't make it any easier that Marshall lost the swim team. But Marshall had its hand forced by the deterioration of the standard. Well, the facility's there. You can't bring it up to Division I level without a lot of capital investment. And so Marshall made the decision, we can't make the capital investment. We can't provide the experience we want for the swim team that they deserve. And so, we've got to go ahead and make these decisions now. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That is our text line to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Texture says, Paul, I noticed for the first time in a long time that the men's basketball team doesn't have any players from West Virginia, Kentucky, or Ohio. Yeah, that's interesting. At the same time, I'm happy that Marshall's able to maybe branch out a little bit. I know if you're looking at recruiting, you want to put a circle around the university and you want to make sure that you get all the best talent you possibly can. And we've heard it before. Hey, we've got a lot of talent here. There should be enough talent here to field a team. And if you look at where the talent's coming from, Pittsburgh, you got Orlando, you got Georgia, you got Ottawa, Detroit, Michigan, you got Florida, North Carolina, a lot of Georgia, a lot of Florida, South Dakota. You look at all these guys, and they come from different walks of life. And I think that's going to happen because of the transfer portal. Gone are the days where you're recruiting, you open up the map, you put a big circle around Marshall University, and you push it out as far as you think you can, and you go and recruit in that circle. You got to recruit everywhere nowadays. So it is interesting, but with the transfer portal, the days of, hey, I grew up watching, say, Marshall basketball. I grew up as a kid watching Marshall basketball. My big dream is to go to Marshall University and play basketball. And it still might be, but also the transfer portal has kind of changed that dynamic. You could find a better offer. And also, you're going to have to sometimes go somewhere else to get back to where you might want to be. You go to maybe a smaller program and then work your way back up. Again, the transfer portal is what it is. It's opened up a lot of opportunities, but it also creates a lot of change for the roster. Texter says, Paul, USA just downed Sweden in overtime in one heck of a hockey game. I got to go back and watch it. I was watching the first two periods, and then I came in the studio to do the show, and then I I pulled up ESPN. I'm like, okay, let's check. It was 1-0. And then all of a sudden, Mika Zibanejad, of all people, number 93 from the New York Rangers, for those of you that get annoyed when I talk Rangers hockey, Mika scores for Sweden, and it goes into overtime, and then Quinn Hughes gets the game winner, assisted by Matt Bodley and Austin Matthews. All of a sudden, the United States of America is in the medal round. I'm excited. I got to go back and watch that, though. I've actually converted a couple of people, believe it or not, and a lot of it's on the women's side because the women are tremendous right now. And I know we're never going to see a hockey program in the immediate area. I would love that, but I think that a lot of people are starting to get turned on to hockey a little bit more. And if that's you, let me know. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Or are you just someone who watches like the big events like the Olympics, the Frozen Four for college? Do you watch the Stadium Series, the Winter Classic? Did you watch the Four Nations last year? Let me know. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More coming up on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
At Poca Valley Bank, a handshake can still mean the start of a great relationship. We've been greeting customers with a handshake since 1908. Why settle for less? If you're purchasing your first home or planning for your future, Poca Valley Bank is here to support you with personalized service and local expertise. They are your trusted advisors. Why settle for less when you can experience banking with a team that truly cares? Poca Valley Bank, where relationships matter. Visit PocaValleyBank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Looking for midweek fun? Head to Frank's Place, where every night's a party. Wednesdays are full of brains and brews with trivia night. Grab your crew and show off what you know. Thursdays, crank it up with Singo Bingo. Music meets bingo for prizes and laughs. Then Fridays, we hand you the mic for karaoke night. Sing your heart out and start your weekend right. The fun never stops at Frank's Place. Great drinks, great friends, and good times. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Cold weather's on its way, and what do you want on those cold, chilly evenings? A warm blanket and a hot cup of cocoa. Well, you know who else wants the same comfort? Mice. Messy, uninvited guests. They sneak in and leave droppings, chew through your food and packages. Don't let mice take over your home this fall and winter. Call K&B Pest Control. We will kill for your business. Call today, 304-523-4281.
All of us love sports, but not all sports are created equal. College sports have big budgets, dedicated alumni networks, and corporate sponsorships. Professional sports have even deeper pockets, millionaire owners, lucrative TV and radio deals, and merchandise sales. High school sports have you. Everyone agrees high school sports give us plenty of reasons to cheer. And now's a great time for us to give back. Supporting your hometown high school won't cost you much, but it will go a long way to ensuring the games we love the most are here to stay. West Virginia High School Sports. They're good for our kids, good for our community, and best of all, they're good for you.
This message presented by the West Virginia Secondary School Activities Commission and the West Virginia Athletic Directors Association.
A promise was made. A promise that hit the beaches of Normandy. A covenant that split the skies over Berlin. A vow that captured Iwo Jima. A promise was made. A solemn oath that liberated Seoul. A sacred trust that defended Quezon. A pact that dug in Da Nang. A contract that weathered Tet. A promise was made. A pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq. A bond that patrolled door to door in Fallujah. An IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. A promise we all must keep. DAV fights for all veterans and their families so they get the health care, financial benefits, and support they earned. If you're a veteran who needs help or you'd like to help us keep the promise, visit DAV.org.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talk Line, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
We continue on with your Wednesday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter wants to know, Paul, has Marshall's men's and women's basketball teams ever won the conference in the same season? Also, mostly just follow USA men's and women's hockey teams or big-time hockey games in the NHL. Appreciate the text. I'll talk about the basketball first. It has actually happened, but we got to go back a ways. The last time it happened was the 96-97 season, but I don't know if that counts in the way that we're thinking right now, because the men won, I believe it was the 96-97 season. I think the men won the regular season and the women won the tournament championship. I think that was the case, but you got to go back to 86-87, and the men and the women won the regular season championship. If I've done my quick research as fast as I possibly could, the men ended up winning the tournament that year. In 87-88, both teams won the regular season, but not the tournament championship. And it can, I'm going to have to go and do a quick deep dive into it just to make sure that all my notes are matching up. But it has happened before, because those Marshall women's basketball teams were pretty good in the 80s. And, of course, the men were really good as well in the Southern Conference. But I think the last time it happened was the 96-97 season, if I'm remembering correctly. And I don't think that was championship, like tournament, regular season. I think that was a split that season. So let me research that, but the answer is yes. And I want to just make sure that my recollection is correct on that. I was there. Show you how old I am. I was not a student yet at Marshall University. The reason I'm a little bit more vivid about some of those, because I was a student at, I was a Huntington High kid in the 80s. I've told you this story, where we're in class and we're supposed to be watching a film, and I've got my Sony Walkman in my book bag with the headphones, just listening in, and people are like, "What's the score? What's the score?" This was when Marshall's in the tournament, Southern Conference tournament. Like, what's the score? Like, wow, how much does Taft have? Taft has how many points? Yeah, so those were the fun days, and of course I could get away with some of that stuff because the teacher would be like, "Okay, what's the score?" Huntington High, back in the day, it was always fun. And before that, a Kamak Blue Streak. For those of you wondering what it was a Blue Streak, then a Pony Express. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 is our text line to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Of course, if anyone would know instantly, would be the voice of the herd, Steve Cotton. He has a tremendous knowledge of Marshall basketball history. Of course, he does a fantastic job with the call, all the Herd games, and he just has a lot of that just right there. He has that index in his head that he can pull that stuff up almost instantaneously or really close. But I can research this a little bit better just to make sure that I've got the right years. But yeah, it has won. I mean, it has happened before. So with the hockey side of this, USA moves on to the medal round. So USA is guaranteed 2 games. Now, if United States wins in the semis, then it would head to the gold medal game and possibly against Canada. That might be where it ends up. Gold medal game, it looks like it's going to be United States, and I think it is going to be, if I'm looking at the table correctly here, it might be Slovakia. Yeah, I think that's it. It's going to be Canada versus Finland. Finland got the win earlier today over Switzerland. Canada won against Czechia, and USA got the overtime win over Sweden, and Slovakia beat number 6 seed Germany. So it's going to be number 1 Canada versus number 4 Finland. And it's chalk. Number 2 USA taking on number 3 Slovakia. And actually, I think that the USA team might have gotten the better draw in that case because Finland's good. Slovakia is no slouch whatsoever, but Finland is good. So this is going to be interesting. And, of course, the women are going to be playing for a gold medal as well. So we're going to have a lot to talk about tomorrow. That gold medal game, I think, is in the afternoon, so we'll know what happens tomorrow by the time we go on the air. And with that said, we're done. Thank you for being a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Of course, we've got basketball for you tomorrow. We'll be full steam ahead on that one. And then, hopefully, after the game, we're talking about a win, and maybe Marshall will be in the top spot, or at least tied for the top spot in the league after the game against App State. We'll see what the other results look like. But that's going to do it. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with you tomorrow here, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.